What's going on, everyone? This is Michael Stewart-Isaacs.
And this is Shemekka, Ebony.
And this is your next edition of
Sunday Stacks.
Sunday Stacks is back. We are energized and renewed because we are alive. Yes, Sunday Stacks is a part of the Alive Podcast Network, and we are so excited. We're doing season 2. This is episode 2, and we have so much to share with you all. We have just had such a phenomenal week, and we're so excited to show you how each week stacks up for us. Shemekka, tell a little bit about some of the things that started your week this week.
Awesome. I started this week in Miami. We were invited to the Sustainability Summit with Black Girl Magic Market. We had a vendor event on Tuesday night, which was a pool party, decade of Black innovation. And this week was filled with opportunities to amplify ways for us to build and grow together with intention for the long game. So these were Black innovation leaders from all across the country that are holding space in various states and communities for creatives, digital innovators, entrepreneurs that are really maximizing, utilizing AI as a means to build capacity. And we had some really strong and powerful breakout sessions that helped us strategize and be more intentional in how we integrate AI into our work and into our business models.
So we have taken this week to take the I Am Brilliant tour to the Miami area, connecting with the BIA Sustainability Summit. It was such an amazing experience, just being able to see so many leaders from across the country, just really sharing little nuggets and tidbits, as well as finding little bits of inspiration to take back to their hometowns. We had people from as far as Chicago, San Francisco. I mean, you name it. They were just in the building, just ready to learn and was poised. And we were talking about the decade of Black innovation. And so we talk to you, audience here, Sunday Stacks. What does the decade of Black innovations mean to you? What has it been over the last 10 years? Where is it going in the next 10 years? And we're just here to kind of share some of the fun that we were able to experience. Miami, Florida did not disappoint. So much energy, so much life, so much vibrancy, so much beauty. And it was just a great experience just to create inspiration for leaders to really create some empowering tidbits that they can continue to help their communities grow, and most importantly, raise some capital. Yes, I think that's important for us as business leaders. So here at Sunday Stacks, we always talk about FCC, that's family, community, and company. And that's exactly what we were able to see, is a new kind of family coming together. I call it like a tribe, a tribe of other tribal leaders who are just coming together to really empower one another and keep each other uplifted, create safe spaces for healing, as well as just continue to give each other what is needed to go back to their communities and create the level of opportunities that we all want to start seeing happen in our communities.
That's so good. I want to definitely make sure to shout out UBS for being in the building. They have been a very strong and powerful supporter of Black Innovation Alliance and the work that we do around the globe. We're really trying to tap into global innovation, and UBS has been right there in theory and practice, not only providing resources, but also providing insight. We had an opportunity this week to speak to financial advisors to gain insight on how we can move forward.
It sounds like there was a lot of bright spots and just a lot of powerful people in the room. It just seems like one of those things where it's just amazing how we can bring so many different groups and so many people together and really try to see how we can close this gap and bridge the opportunities for these innovators who are creating companies, as well as organizations that are here to serve, as well as being able to create resources that they can take back to their community and continue to help people in their areas thrive. What was some of your takeaways from this event?
If there be anything, I would definitely kick it off with, there's no excuses. Our excuses should not get more exercise in our action. Too often we've been postured to complain about things because it doesn't fit exactly. But what I've seen, not only with Black Innovation Alliance, their partners, people that I've intentionally connected with, when you really want to do something, you use what's in your hand, you use what's available, you make it happen, no excuses. So, my takeaway which is so powerful this week, is let's move the excuses out of the way. Let's make something happen and get it done. Black Innovation Alliance has been very pivotal in creating opportunities for other innovation support organizations across the country to not only travel internationally to learn and grow to take back to their communities, but also creating these experiences, whether it's using digital technology on social media. We actually have our own platform that we can lift up. We share funding opportunities. We share opportunities to showcase and build and grow together, work together under contracts. So I see a very strong, growing organization that's 3 years old. And as Dr. Kelly Burton says, it's a grown baby.
There it is. There it is. And it was amazing just to see the joyful energy. I mean, most conferences tend to be kind of stale and stiff, but the group that BIA has hired, their team, their staff, just a phenomenal group of individuals, Black women leading this organization, really just creating great experiences, curating it for a cross-generational audience, and just really making that empowerment really known in the room, that we see you as you are, we see how you're showing up. There was no need for imposter syndrome. It's like everyone was bringing all of their different sauces. They were bringing their problems to the forefront, as well as getting solutions from other people from another area that may have been able to already answer that problem.
In real time.
In real time.
Problem solving in real time. We had some incredible speakers that were helping us get our kitchen together. Like I say, as I work with Black organizations often that are trying to lead work but won't let people in the kitchen. Like, really, this is a space for you to feel safe, to let your guard down. Too often we're connected to corporate systems that shame us for not having things together, shame us for failing. But there was something powerful in the movement of what these facilitators shared around be proud about what you're failing at. I think it was some F-up sessions that some companies and organizations were doing to really look at where you effed up and what can we learn from it. So your failures can become your case studies. So that was another PowerPoint that came out of this week too.
The thing I pulled away from the event was in regards to a quote that was by Dr. Martin Luther King, and the leadership in BIA was able to lift us up at the Sustainability Summit in regards to a concept called mutual trust, right? And incorruptibility as well as militancy, right? What is it going to take for organizations not only to just gather, but truly figure out what it means to work together, be patient with the process, as well as keep everyone involved and make everyone feel lifted up and included? And part of what we realized was the nature of mutual trust. We all have to come together and start having a greater level of trust for one another if we're really going to see the thing we all say we want to see happen, which is true inclusion, true equity in African Americans' life and how they show up in the U.S., how their rights are used across their families, their communities, and their companies. And these types of organizations are trying to lead that charge, as well as close the gap in regards to being able to become an early grantee or an investor of sorts to someone's vision and their dreams. But one thing we learned is the concept of sustainability. Whatever our visions and our dreams are, whatever our goals are to empower or help our communities, we have to make sure that we can sustain them. That means we have to make sure that they can last for generations to come. There's manuals, there's guidebooks, there's AI tech, but someone can basically come behind you and be able to duplicate and replicate what you've already done, as well as make improvements as needed. And I think that's some of what we realize is that we all, as we've always talked about, as you know, with Sunday Stacks, where the production of I Am Brilliant, we make sure that we're rebooting the human spirit. We're recharging the human intelligence and really making sure that we understand our weighted value as we're looking at technology. And that's one thing I walked away from seeing the Sustainability Summit is the need for wellness and other things that we need to prioritize to make sure that well-being, wellness, mindfulness, all these things are really taking shape to help us keep ourselves sustained too, as we're trying to find resources to sustain communities. So, I mean,
that's so good. There was a lot of conversation around looking at how we can heal, because that's, that also aligns with the lack of trust that we have for one another. Many of us have experiences where we've been harmed. And I think my expertise as a spiritual author, a leadership coach, I was able to identify that, especially when it comes to community engagement and how significant and important it is for people to have a chance to heal because they're coming from toxic environments. They're coming from other ecosystems that tokenize them, and they are the bright star that people may be leaning on, and not having that safe space to heal and grow. It puts us in a posture of leading while bleeding. So people want you to fix their problem, but they don't see that you got like this really huge hole in your side that you're trying to fix while you're trying to help them. And so what we experienced this week were pockets of opportunities where you could balance life and work. We kicked it off with yoga sessions every morning. We had grounding sessions before we went into the keynotes every day. We had opportunities to unwind collectively as well as individually. So, one thing I value and appreciate about the environment and experiences with BIA is that they're very flexible and open in creating that space to heal. And people can't heal until they're heard. So we had talkback sessions, fireside chats where people could express their challenges that they're happening in their communities and what they're seeing within their ecosystems. And we were able to navigate it with the experts that were in the room to help troubleshoot in real time.
I love that. And I think right now, as we look to discuss, we want to make sure that you all, whether you're here on YouTube or listening to us on your any favorite podcast network, we want to make sure that you give us your thoughts and opinion. What does the decade of Black innovation mean to you as a concept? What is the last 10 years of innovations, technology, social media inclusion, influencers? What does the next 10 years look like with AI technology and some of the other innovations that we're looking down the road? How do we get ahead of it and how do we maximize it as a tool and a resource to help us get an edge in today's society? And I think that's part of what we got out of this. So please put your comments, definitely like and subscribe on these different platforms. We want to make sure that Sunday Stacks becomes your favorite go-to when it comes to what it means to stack it up. And as we transition into our main topic, one thing we get asked all the time, because we travel, we're in Miami. Shemekka's just come back from the tour. She was in Boston. She was in St. Louis. She's in so many cities. The number one question we get asked, and this is what we're making our topic today, is tips for balancing family life as well as company, or what we call our tour schedule and our tour travels. And so we want to talk a little bit about that. We want to get your insights and how you do it, Shemekka. How is it balanced? I mean, I'm going to give my little insights in how we manage our family. As you know, in our crew, we have 6 kids. So we have 6 children. We have 2 businesses with multiple brands going at any given time. We consult different organizations from across the country, and somehow we're able to keep our minds together. How do you do it? So that is the question we're posing. Any other people out here that have that similar lifestyle, please put your stories in the chat. We definitely want to continue to have this as a conversation. But yes, we're looking for tips for balancing your family life as well as your work life from the FCC model. How's that working out for you, Shemekka?
Oh, technology has been such a game-changing asset that has helped make this a bit easier. And I'm grateful for that. When I think about traveling on the road, aside from having an incredible extension or an ecosystem of family and neighbors to be able to call on, I'm appreciative of those that I have been able to safely entrust my family with while traveling. And then, too, we prioritize making time, scheduling time to still keep routines with our kids. So we're FaceTiming. We making little animal faces.
Right.
I sent the kids this week on a scavenger hunt. So I left little notes all around the house with treats and toys for them to find. Not to mention these little baby geniuses found them in the first 2 days. But it's those little things, those moments. I know for me as a mother, it's kind of hard because our youngest is 3. And he just doesn't get it. He's like, I want you home with me all the time.
All the time.
So it does pull at, my heart. but knowing I have to, with whatever decision I make, I always look at the ROI. Is this worth missing time with my family? Because I
That's good.
prioritize family over everything, because that's going to be here when the contract ends, when the season's down. My family's going to be there. So I do prioritize making sure that it's a good return on investment of my time if I have to take it away from family. And I don't, I'm very intentional that when I am away, that I don't overbook myself or overextend myself, that I can't spend time with them when I come back.
I love that. And I think the way we set ourselves up is we found a way to incorporate our children into our brand. So we have a brand called The Brilliant Bunch. We have a YouTube channel for our youngins. And what we try to do is give them a platform to kind of give their point of view on where they're at today in their own development, as well as what it feels like to travel with their parents. And sometimes we do take our kids on as many trips as possible to give them educational experiences. But even when we have to leave them, like this week, where we have more of an adult driven conference and summit where children wouldn't necessarily be able to vibe as well, we definitely have to, like she said, lean on those family members who can support us. And I hope all of you can be encouraged that I know it's not easy. Sometimes it's difficult, and it was difficult for us in the beginning. So let's not make it like it's always rosy, but we encourage you to find those relationships in your family, your friends, your neighbors that can really create a support system as you're trying to grow what I already know is a difficult pursuit to build and grow a business. A lot of what we're building, we put on our social media platform, as well as what we've done with the Sustainability Summit will be on all our social media platforms. You can find it at I Am Brilliant, you are too, on Instagram. You can also find I Am Brilliant on Facebook. We'll have pictures and photos showing our fun that we had in our Miami tour. You can see some of our previous tour stops, as well as get a chance to experience our family and see how we actually balance our family and work life, and how we really make our kids the center as well as a part of what we're doing. So there's a level of discipleship of learning. So therefore, when it comes time for them to be leaders, they've already seen a good roadmap and blueprint of what it should look like.
And our children see us working together. So I know that this is not everybody's dynamic. So this is specifically to the families that husband, wife, partner, however you've hooked up and committed yourself, also work together in business. And so that dynamic does have its extra added pressures as well. But the beautiful thing about what I see is that, we give grace to one another while we're traveling, even when we're traveling together. We stay flexible. Like, those are the relationship tips that I would say. Communicate often, communicate in a way that's uplifting and empowering. Refilling each other's cup in ways that are meaningful are important to keep things together in the family. And then also create those opportunities and experiences so that your children see that, well, mom and daddy work together. This is what's possible for me too. Because we're really pushing our children towards entrepreneurship. That is where we're singling out our attention. This is where we look at what they're talented in and creating those income generating streams that they can maximize. But we want them to model. We want them to see what we're doing, see what we look like and what it feels like to see us working together, so that we can model what's possible, so that we can create this innovation. Because this is not easy. Of course, we know partners tend to kind of go apart, go work, do their thing, then come back and maybe eat dinner together. But we work remotely. We're together often, and we find that when we do get a chance to travel together, it's beautiful for us. We, maximize it, but then it's also those times when we have to travel solo. So creating open communication and being consistent, understanding that grace must abound in how we're working and building together, and keep the long game in mind. So keep illuminating to those families that are in business together and raising families together, because you're teaching our next generation that this is possible to do, and it is profitable and it's sustainable.
And let me throw a little tidbit out there for the husbands who work with their wives, or just the men who show up and support their wives. You still got to get on these trips, and you got to find a little date time. So one thing we try to do in our work-life balance is still date each other. We still find ways to find scenery. And when Shemekka was in conference and I had some extra time, I would scout out some areas that I knew she would find beautiful. And it was something I could take her to and surprise her and have an idea.
So nice too.
I mean, it's just so much about creating experiences intentionally. Part of what we'll talk about down the road with Sunday Stacks is something we call divorce talks. And divorce talks is a prelude for people who either have been divorced before and are looking for a second chance, like me and Shemekka, or those who are trying to prevent that in their current marriage and want to make sure that the right things are being done so you never have to be in a position to truly ever really get divorced. And that's why it's just divorce talks. It's not about getting divorced. It's about the things preventatively we can do to keep ourselves from getting
It's
divorced.
not the boogie monster. Like, not talking about divorce is not going to keep you avoid from ever experiencing it. But if you don't talk about what could be contributing to your divorce in your family and your partnership, then you're leaving this big gap open for a wedge to be drawn even larger over time, because we're not addressing the elephant in the room, which is oftentimes lack of communication or effective communication and lack of active listening.
So as we get ready to wrap up, we always have to give you a Whiz of the Week. Whiz of the Week. Whiz of the Week. We are going to keep it nice and sweet. This Whiz of the Week has been such a week. We already know the political seasons are out there. We know the Trump trial is always going on and on the top of most people's minds. But there's also been some unique things where even in a Sunday space, we have pastors who have guns being pulled out on them. Oh, my goodness. There was a pastor recently spared from a shooting. Pastor Glenn Germany out of Pennsylvania was pastoring his church service, and there was a lone gunman that came on, pointing a gun towards him. Supposedly the gun jammed. Hallelujah to God. God is real. And definitely him and a bunch of the other members in the church were able to subdue the gunman to really make sure there was any greater harm being done. But just think about where we're at today, guys. When we look at the Whiz of the Week, we look at the things that distract us. We look at the things that keep our attention. And part of what we want to do is make sure that we really get to the heart of people out here. People are hurting. People are feeling not seen. People aren't feeling this spiritual revival that is so possible for all of us. And part of what we want to do here at Sunday Stacks is create that spirit, that sense of fun, that sense of new thoughts, that sense of new pride, that sense of new confidence. And we want to continue to make that a part of the legacy here. And when we talk about the Whiz of the Week, we really talk about things that kind of catch our attention, catch us off guard. We might make a meme or two. I'm sure there are people still talking about a Kendrick Lamar, Drake beef and who won and all these different things. But we really talk about it more so from a standpoint of what distracts us and why we shouldn't be distracted, because that FCC, that family, community, and company should be the only thing that you prioritize if you truly want to see it stack up for you week for week.
Yeah, and those that are having opinion of these things that are happening, it's like it's an energy pool. It's a distraction. The Wiz is about, creating or generating fears that will cause you to be stuck. The shooting and the person was having a mental health crisis, and someone was already dead in the house that he left, which was not too far from the church that he walked into. But he said he heard a voice. He heard a voice that told him to go shoot somebody. We have to be mindful that whether it's this with this pastor or the pastor that openly rebuked someone from crying out in the choir, for whatever reason, these things that we volunteer our opinions on, that we're not paying anything but attention, just know the value and the cost, the attention that you're paying in somebody else's business could be costing you the opportunity to grow and expand and build capacity, build your business, build your own vision and dream, and create those things that are going to make you a better person, because we're too busy paying attention, literally going in debt, paying attention on a scroll on social media, paying attention to the news that is controlling what you're believing and knowing. Realize the power of those whizzes and dig deeper to find what you need to be focused on so you can get out of the loop of being distracted.
And the last thing I would add is, as much as we want to put pressures on people, whether they're former presidents, whether they're pastors, remember to look up. And I say that in particular here in the Wizard of the Week because we've been talking about solar flares being seen across the East Coast for the last several days. Solar flares are flickering. That means we are getting that aurora borealis type of look. But because the sun is currently having sunstorms, actually there's storms that happen and form on the sun itself, and it starts to create flares. There could be cell phone issues in the next few days, GPS issues, so many different things. So again, these things and these technologies are things that are man-made, and they can be there to help us, but they can also be there to distract us. But every now and then the universe, God, will always have something that can always override all those things. So we have to keep ourselves focused, and that's why it's so important to really understand our whys and our purpose. And our purpose is to gather and rally around our family, community, and company. So as always, we love talking here at Sunday Stacks. I hope you enjoyed how our week stacked up. You can find us on all major platforms, Instagram, Facebook, under our personal names, Michael Stewart-Isaacs, Shemekka Ebony, or you can find us through our production platform, which is I Am Brilliant, You Are Too, or hashtag I Am Brilliant. And we're so grateful to the Alive Network for this partnership and continuing to just tell the story of what it means to have your week stack up. We don't want anyone ever feeling depressed one week and not being able to uplift themselves the next. And then that next week you go even higher in that uplifting. The next week you go even higher. And you're actually quantifying both from a family place as well as within your finances and other things, how it can stack up week for week with a little positivity and a lot of charm from this here Sunday Stack. So you make sure you stay tuned because we're going to be the platform you should be listening to all the time on podcasts to keep you inspired.
Awesome. I love it. And as always, remember,
I am brilliant and you are too. Thank you for tuning in this edition of Sunday Stacks. And make sure you download the Alive Podcast Network app. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Peace.